A very good afternoon to all of you. My name is Raghavan. I'm presenting on behalf of my fellow authors, Venkata Santosh, Koshi Verghese, and Ashwin Mahaliga. We are from the Indian Institute of Technology in Chennai, Madras in Chennai, in India. So our topic is initial euphoria to sustain change, mainstreaming lean culture. So Indian construction industry has the same kind of woes, which the industry has elsewhere in the world. There are so many problems. And we have been looking to lean over the last 9 years, starting from a small way and getting on to more and more lean working. We have a body called the Institute of Lean Construction Excellence, which was founded in 2008, which has been spearheading the practice of lean construction concepts in the country. And more companies are coming to espouse the lean way of working, but we still have a long way to go. And one of the companies there is actually over 100 years old, a large manufacturing organization with a construction division. And they have been actually involved with IIT Madras in the earlier days for some experimental implementation of lean construction. So they were familiar with the lean practices, and when that organization wanted to set up a large industrial installation by the EPC route, they asked their construction division to handle the whole project. And the head of the construction division, being well familiar with the lean construction concepts and having tasted some good benefits in the past, so he came to us and asked us to be the coach for guiding them for lean implementation. And that's how we got into this particular project. So this study shows the evolution of the lean culture in this project and the various aspects which we have studied to make it a sustaining practice in the project. What used to happen in the past in other projects where we had done some implementation, the moment the mentor or the sustaining guide leaves a project, people tend to slip back into their old ways. So we were trying to see in this particular project, how can we make it more sustaining even when the guide or coach is not there anymore. So there are a number of complexities in this project. Normally you would have only one project manager and one kind of organizational setup which is fully responsible. But this company, being 100 years old, it had a number of legacy issues. There were so many manufacturing divisions, two of which were also the owner clients for this particular project. And they had their own MEP setups. So they decided that the MEP part for this project will be also handled by those two divisions, where the construction division was being headed by an independent person. And the project manager used to report to this CD, that's a construction division. And the other division people who were responsible for the MEP would not normally report to this particular project manager. There were a number of verticals, so the reporting relationship went all the way up to the CEO of the entire organization, and then would come back to the construction division and then to the project manager. So that was one complexity. Second thing, the organization would not do any construction directly. They used to hire subcontractors and other vendors for sourcing all the MEP and the civil construction part. So that again was another complexity factor. Third thing, the engineering also was outsourced. And the engineering was outsourced to the same agency, but the construction division's work and the other divisions' work were going in parallel and not together in a serial manner. So there were a number of coordination issues. Then again, the project management was handled by one particular group in the construction division. They were not fully integrated with the others. And they were very fond of the traditional CPM-based approach and were not so much, liking the look-ahead planning or the coming down from the master schedule to the phase schedule to the look-ahead planning. And of course, the environmental problems, regarding land acquisitions, permits, and so on, they were the extraneous factors which were again mitigating against successful completion of the project. So with all these complexities, we were in a jam. How will we get lean to work on this project and how do we make it sustaining? So the objectives for this paper are to observe the dynamics between the various teams involved and to see how to get the lean culture. And then we also wanted to identify the factors which were favoring or going against the setting up of a sustainable lean culture over the long run. So our data actually was with the observations made by our own team when we made the number of site visits. We were not at the site all the time. We used to give them directions and then used to get back the reports and used to keep observing it from a distance. And then we had a number of meetings, of course, with the project team used to have a number of meetings and we used to get the minutes of meetings. And then we also made a questionnaire and got the feedback from the various teams. And of course, we also used to discuss with the various team members from time to time to get their observations. We started with last planner, which was a very popular kind of practice there. And then, using also the big room concept for getting all the people together. They were co-located in a sense, they were all part of the same organization, the same premises, the overall premises. But of course, being in vertical compartments, they would not talk to each other so readily. So we needed to have communication protocols, how they will talk to each other and so on. So the organizational structure also was studied. Initially, we had got them to do the last planner, work sampling, and 5S. So when these practices were going on in the earlier projects and the current project, people observed a number of benefits. And then slowly they started to like the lean practices. And then they graduated to using lean more and more. And one thing what we saw actually, the lean culture, the openness, transparency, sharing, inclusiveness, all these were not there as a matter of culture. So we had to have a number of HR training program and to see how the sustaining factors would be coming in. So as I said, over a period of time, the teams observed that they would gain substantial benefits. For example, instead of every time, going up all the way the communication chains and coming down to the other people, when they come to the big rooms, they were able to interact with each other more readily, and they were able to get solutions also much faster. So initially, when people were protesting about lean, later they were so much championing the cause of lean and saying that, but for lean, they would never have surmounted all the obstacles which they had faced. So that was a very heartening thing over a period of time. One of the teams actually was practicing the theory of constraints kind of approach. Somebody else was practicing the traditional CPA methods and so on. But they all came out ultimately to accept the lean way of working on the last plan. So we observed actually in two major ways. One is the organizational structure and the other was the processes. And one major factor which helped us a lot was the continuous, sustaining, strong top management support, which came from the head of construction division. That actually was sustaining the momentum and helped lean go across. And when the people came to the big room and started interacting with the others, a lot of friendships were forged, a lot of bonds were formed, and people started sharing data and decisions across instead of having to depend upon the top management. And even when the lean championship team got dismantled partly and reformed because people were transferred and so on, still we could get the thing sustaining because of the big room approach. But however, the moment the top management relaxed their guidance, their controls, then people tend to slip back. So one more thing, what was done actually, the transparency required by the organizational processes. That means actually when people were not willing to share their knowledge readily, and they had to depend upon the process in the big room and so on. And like I said, the big room helped quite a lot. So top management actually what they did, they formed a steering group which would step in wherever required, wherever people could not resolve their differences in the big room. So steering group helped, and the lead coach, we also had to step in every now and then. And we also evolved our own training programs, both for the technical part and for the HR parts. So all these actually helped over a period of time. And we also had a technology, a reporting system, which would actually give reports on the actual progress through IT means. So summarizing, the top management is fully subscribed it's easier to transform the organizational structure and get them to act across the divisional barriers. And the change in the established processes over the last so many decades, what people are doing, that was a challenge. And then the sustained change was the bigger challenge, how to make it continuous. So that was also very good. And the short strategic planning by the top management, in terms of training, directing the people, all that also was very helpful. So with these, now we have a heartening factor that the project is on more or less on a good, sustainable lean platform. Not very intensively, but it's quite good. Thank you.
Now the questions will come here.